Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm glad you're here. I'm Rita Hickman. I'm a body mind expert and I'm a massage therapist, a shiatsu massage therapist. And I help women who are in narcissistic and toxic relationships heal their trauma and move on. And sometimes heal the relationships that they have with the narcissist and definitely find inner peace and a sense of strength and confidence and their voice. I help them create a new life for themselves, whether they're considering divorce after 40 years, whether they're going through one, whether they're on the other side and they don't want to recreate relationships based on the trauma that they've received from a narcissist. Maybe something changed in their family dynamics. Their mother got older, their father got older, they moved home. Either way, narcissism trauma is very, very real. It's um, it's a biological, physical response to a certain set of qualifications. So trauma is when you have an experience that's unexpected, so you're not prepared for it, that you feel helpless to, like there's nothing you can do except watch the trauma happen, whatever it may be. Maybe watch yourself be abused, watch yourself being verbally attacked, watch horrific things happening, maybe somebody dying or a car accident, or watch even things in movies. What we see, we have mirror cells in our brain. And so the things that we see, we pick up on. If we see abuse, if we see violence, we can't unsee that. It's one of the things I've really had to work with, because if you think about it, because I work with women and a lot of childhood trauma and a lot of current narcissism trauma that's bringing up all of that old stuff, it would be easy for me to be imprinted by that and feel crazy and controlled and have it traumatize me. But because I'm not helpless to it, because I see it coming, I'm able to stay more balanced. The last piece is processing. If you can process through the experience, then it's no longer a trauma. Now, let me show you how to process experiences so that you stop triggering when a narcissist pushes the very buttons to piss you off, to make you feel scared, to make you feel anxious, to make you feel depressed. They are a master manipulator of your emotions. And sure, they do it to protect themselves from a very reactionary, primal sort of place. But that doesn't diminish or even say that what you're going through or the experiences that you've had of verbal abuse, being called names, being accused, being threatened, being toyed with, being lied to, being betrayed, all of those things, those are trauma. If they were unexpected, you felt helpless to them, and you weren't able to process through. Okay, this is how we fix that. Let me give you a little bit of biology of the brain. When something happens that's very painful, it first of all goes to our thalamus, and our thalamus then decides whether this is something to be panicky about, something to be upset about, or something to not, something to be in fight or flight about, or something to not be in fight or flight about. If it's a childhood thing where you literally were helpless and your brain wasn't developed enough to get your way out of there, you didn't have the resources, you weren't smart enough, you didn't have people supporting you, you had to endure it, you had to watch other people being abused, you had to be yanked around without any support, you had to do it all on your own and feel responsible for everybody else. That creates trauma. So if something like that happens, the thalamus says this is a bad thing. You are in danger. You need to be scared. You need to be scared right now. So it tells the amygdala, okay, it's time to freak out. And so the amygdala comes into action and it puts you in fight or flight. Adrenaline gets released. Your muscles tense up. Your digestion shuts down. Your blood vessels narrow. All of these things happen under not being able to react to your stress. not being able to do anything with your stress. So your amygdala fires. It can happen over anything. It can happen over even something that seems scary, or somebody yelling at you, or watching someone else being abused or being hurt or being yelled at. It feels the same way. Our body reacts the same way, even when we watch abuse. It's just as strong when we watch abuse as when it happens to ourselves. So the amygdala is firing. And when the amygdala fires and says, this is a problem, it tells your brain to have a receptor on your brain, on your brain connections. In that connection, between your neurons, if you're familiar enough, you've got your brain neurons, and there's that gap in between, that jump, and it sends electrical waves and it sends chemicals. Well, when you've had a trauma, when your amygdala has been triggered and you didn't have a way to get through it, there's a receptor that comes to the top of those neural connections. And that receptor, just like a button, just like that big red easy button for Office Max or Office Depot or whatever it is, the big red button, it pushes it every single time. Whenever your unconscious sees something that even vaguely reminds you that it might be a threat, this receptor gets pushed, okay, causing the whole the exact same reaction you had when you were 4 or 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 or 14 or 16 or 18 or 20 or 22 or 24, before your brain was developed, all the way to 30. The brain keeps growing. We still keep developing. So every single time a narcissist even vaguely reminds your unconscious of something that's happened in the past, here you are again, traumatized. And if they do something new, you were naive to and feel no control over, you were traumatized. This little receptor came into came to the surface and got cemented in. So how do you uncement it? How do you get that receptor to get reabsorbed into the body and not waiting there like a raw nerve for someone to come along or something to come along and hit it with a hammer? This is how you do it. So first of all, you have to be triggered. If you get triggered, it means that you're in your sympathetic nervous system. That's the one that says, oh shit. And you need to, you don't have to stay in that oh shit mode. You don't have to scream or yell or cry. I mean, it helps, but you don't have to do any of those things. You don't have to set yourself up to be in a dangerous situation because a narcissist is dangerous. They can be sociopathic. You don't know what they're capable of, and you have these feelings. So you get to remove yourself from the situation if you can, and then you don't have to stay angry. You get to remove the trauma for good. There's a technique and a tool. There's a couple tools that help that receptor get reabsorbed, that tell the body that this receptor isn't needed anymore. And they're super easy and super comforting. Okay, so the first one is called havening. One of my clients this morning, I think she called it something like love hugging, something like that. Havening. You get triggered, you get angry, you get hurt. Stroke down the top of your arms. And that comforting experience tells your body it's okay, and that it sends calcium through that receptor, and it uncements the receptor so it can be reabsorbed. So you want to do this at least 20 times, because the first 10 or so is getting you flipped from your sympathetic nervous system, the oh shit, to the parasympathetic nervous system, which is everything's okay. And then you do another 10, because that last 10 just tells your body, yes, it keeps that process flowing. Think about fluids flowing through, uncementing this this receptor in your brain, the one that makes you feel crazy, the one that makes you feel out of control. It's uncementing that. When you do this, it's uncementing that. So 20 times at least, because the first 10, you can feel the shift of O, you start to relax. And then the second 10, it finishes uncementing it, it finishes so it can be reabsorbed. You can do this on the top of your arms. That's what I found out. You can do it on the top of your arms, gently stroking your palms. So I did this in bed this morning, when I had an uncomfortable trigger coming up because of a dream. You can stroke the palms of your hands. It does the same sort of thing. Or the face. You can do the same sort of thing 20 times. The first 10 gets you out of panic. And then the second 10 gets rid of that receptor for good, for permanently, forever, for everything. So I'll do that if I feel, on a 0 to 10 stress scale, if I feel about 6 or 7. If it's more than 6 or 7, I use a trauma point. Does the same thing. Okay, remember, this takes care of your traumas permanently, but it can be hard because you get tired of having things coming up. But as they come up, you can clear them. When you start this process, it opens up a channel for healing. And so it can get a little bit tiring going through the process of clearing things because it feels like it will never end. But so give yourself breaks. Give yourself week breaks or a couple week breaks or day breaks, or, do it at a pace that this works, because you are physically permanently changing your body, and your body now has to adjust to this new reality. So do it at a pace that works for you, so you don't end up in, feeling stressed because your body's having a hard time adjusting. So the second point are these trauma points. So it's the inside of your eyebrows with your ring finger and your thumb, and then your middle finger naturally sort of rests in the middle of your forehead. See? This is what it looks like. Inside of the eyebrows, middle of the forehead. Take the other hand and you put it at the back of your head. And all you need to do when you do this is think about how you feel, how you'd rather feel. You can say some nice, kind, loving things to yourself, and just hold this until the feeling goes down. Because this too is uncementing. It's doing that same thing. You got triggered, and then it's sending the calcium through the receptor that popped up, and it's uncementing the receptor so it can be reabsorbed in the body and it's no longer a hot button for you. That's why it's called a hot button, because it is. So you hold this until you feel better, saying nice things to yourself, kind things to yourself. So that's the second one. A third one you can use to uncement it, especially if you're angry, is to have open hands. When you put your palms out, you can either rest them on your lap, just as you're sitting in a chair, resting your arms on your legs with your hands open and up, or they can be at your sides, open and up. And that automatically starts to diffuse the anger that you have and the emotion that you have. So it's almost like I would start with this because it's the gentlest, and then I would move to the havening. That's kind of the next. And then I would move to it's a Tadas acupressure point. It's used with military PTSD a lot to help reverse that, to help get that trauma off of the body. And then you do this until you feel better. Some people prefer EFT or tapping. That's the one where you tap your face, particularly because you say very nice things to yourself when you do tapping and EFT. You say very nice things. So now you've got a lot of tools. You've got a bunch of tools that you can do anywhere, anytime, stroking your hands, stroking your face, stroking your arms, doing the trauma points, open hands, and EFT tapping. All of those intervene quick. If you trigger, don't sit with it. Sit with it only as long as you want to, but don't sit with it too long because it's not necessary. These points and these tools have kept people from, literally, they've kept people from committing suicide. Literally. And they can help you too. They can help you cope with the pain and the drama and the fear that keeps coming up that a narcissist keeps pushing. And when you work through those, you gain your power back. And when you gain your power back, you make better choices, which are in your best interests. And you start getting resources, and you start reaching out, and you start getting community, and you start standing up for yourself, and you start not getting triggered by a narcissist, and you start navigating the conversation and directing the conversation. And it's still painful and it's still hard, but you're moving forward. You move forward. And that's what you want. So if you feel stuck, reach out. Anything from a free library that you can search for of all of these live streams that I do, to a beautiful coaching, women's coaching program that I do, year-long coaching program, which is so nourishing, and one-on-one coaching with me, or a combination of all of them. Women have found when they work with me once a week and they participate in a group and they hang out in the live streams, things happen fast. Within months, you're serving divorce papers. Within months, you're standing up for yourself. Within months, you are making powerful, positive changes that make your life and everybody else's life better in the long run. You're healing old relationships. You're letting go of things you never thought you could let go of. It doesn't take long. Once a week in the group and some live streams for a few months, and you're good to go. Okay? So, if you know a woman who's struggling with emotional abuse, especially women who are successful, women who've achieved a high level of success already in their life, they're leaders, but they have this drama in their life, this disconnect, this who they present themselves to be and how they feel are two different things. Or maybe if it's you, reach out. You can make a big impact on the world. This stuff triggering looks like getting angry. Triggering looks like withdrawing. Triggering looks like self-sabotaging. Triggering looks like crying all the time. Triggering looks like abdominal distress, or tenseness in your shoulders, or headaches, or inflammation in your body, or having your chronic rheumatoid or fibro, or all those other things, which are also trauma related, having them come up too. So when you start clearing these things and getting help clearing them, changes happen fast. You don't have to do this alone. And let's kind of lift everybody else up, okay? Have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.